Right, Kitabu Zakat is first upon us. So some of the conditions for, or what rather zakat is first, the definition of zakat is to grant ownership, transfer ownership of a specific wealth to a specific individual. Okay. And we'll talk about that individual later on, as in who you can give zakat to. And it's fard upon every single Muslim, yes, or Muslima. Generally, sometimes when we say Muslim as masculine, then it also refers to feminine as well. Mukallaf, you all know what mukallaf is, don't you? Huh? What is mukallaf? Yes, what are the conditions of taklif? Huh? Muslim, what else? Sane, mature. Not be a Hashmi. Where did that come from? Do Hashmis be Muslim? No, we're not talking about zakat here, we're talking about mukallaf. What's that? Free, yes. And last one? What's that? Yeah, we said sane. One last one.
Sane, mature, Muslim, free.
No, we're not talking about zakat here. Yeah.
Must have possession of nisab.
We're not talking about zakat. We're talking about taklif.
Definitely.
Yes.
So Muslim, mature, sane.
Remember Dawat Islami? Okay. It comes in a Muslim. I was just messing around with you. Remember we talked about Dawat Islami? They had to reach you. Remember in Aqidah? We said that the call of Islam, that's what we're referring to. The call of Islam, not Dawat Islami as in Madani channel to reach you. The call of Islam to reach you. That was one of the conditions of taklif, by the way. One of the conditions of taklif. Okay. So you have to be mukallaf, as in all those conditions have to. So he kind of summed it up all in one, as in maturity, being free, and things like this. He summed it up into one. Malikin li nisabin, and you have to be in ownership of nisab. In ownership of nisab. And we'll talk about the nisab later on. That's either in cash or gold and silver which is melted down. Yes. And to your surprise, ladies, there is zakat upon jewelry. Gold and silver, jewelry. Every year you should pay zakat on it. Okay. Gold and silver pots and pans, it's actually makruh to have them, to eat from them. If it's just a small amount in terms of decoration, sometimes you can buy certain pots and pans and they just have like teapots with gold, not the color gold, but actual, what's it called, gold liquid or something, yeah? Something like that around it, that's fine. But if it's actually gold itself, then that's not something that we delve ourselves into. It's makruh to eat from things like that. Or anything. Why? Lavishness. Yeah. Israf. It's not good. And anything which is equal to that nisab, anything which is equal to the nisab that we will talk about. In terms of stock, for your trade, you have a stock, then you need to pay zakat on it at the end of the year. And one of the conditions is that remember, zakat is always on savings. Zakat is always on savings. So these savings have to be extra and free of loans. Yes. So you're not, meaning you have a saving, but then you also, what we call savings is that you minus out the loans that you need to pay off. So if you've got certain loans that you need to pay off, okay, then you minus them. Anything that's left behind is your savings. A mortgage, some people say obviously you can't, because you pay a monthly and you can't do more than that. You have different types of mortgages.
Yeah, it depends on the mortgage.
Yeah. So generally people pay a fixed kind of rate for every month. So some ulama say that if he wants to deduce a year's amount from his savings, then that's fine. And I've heard one scholar say that it should be only 1 month because he knows he has to pay that. Okay? Because we go on, we have a word that we base it on, and be careful with this word, estimation, but real estimation. Yes? Are not something that we call taqdeer. As in, a calculated estimation, as opposed to, I'll need £1 million next year. Okay? It's just a guess, isn't it? So it has to be a calculated amount that child's going to go to university. You know in the back of your mind that I need £9,000. Okay? I need £20,000. You don't do that. Yes? So it's £9,000, so you leave it at £9,000. You don't do an extra like a taqdeer, as in just make up the number. Yes? You make a calculated amount and then you minus that from what you have, your savings, and then whatever's left is your savings. That's going to have zakat on it if it reaches nisab. We'll tell you what the nisab is later on. It has to be empty of your actual needs. Yes, food, drink, water, and again you can do that for the coming year. So you can minus that from it, and it has to be wealth which is growing, or has the capability to grow. For example, something that grows. You bought a cow, it gives birth, grows, doesn't it? Okay, that's literally growing. And then we have the metaphorical sense, value. Yes, it grows in value. I don't know what grows in value. Gold? Yes? Yeah, up and down, isn't it? But yeah, it could be other things as well, but you bought them as trade. Yes? Not for personal use. Like, I don't know, you might have bought a phone, but you know that this phone's gonna, it's a limited edition, and then you bought it cheap, but then in a year's time it will, I don't know if you do that with phones, but it'll go expensive. I know about cars, that if you buy an antique car, yes, so something, I don't know, for example, if you look at an MR2, right, which will be in a classic edition now, when I bought mine, I bought it for like £200, okay, I bought it for my brother bought it actually, so yeah, but then when he sold it for a lot higher price. Yes. Why? Because you bought it a year before it went into being antique. Yes. So he kept it for a year, just parked up, didn't move anywhere, and then when he sold it for a higher price. But he's bought it with the intention of trade. Yes. Yeah, that's the investment.
So on that, as an example, if he bought it for 2,000, let's say he sold it for 200, and he sold it for 2,000.
Yes.
So from that 2,000, he would calculate.
Yes.
Zakat.
Yes. Meaning if that car stayed for a year, yes, the value of that car, you need to pay zakat on it because it's stock.
Yeah.
Yes. And if he sold it, then before the year, then the zakat will start on the cash. Okay. If he keeps it as an investment. Okay. If he takes it as profit, that's fine. But if he keeps it as an investment, that he's going to invest in something else, then it's a business, isn't it? Then in that case, a year has to pass on that cash.
For example, something like multiple homes. What category would they fall? Would they
If a person has multiple homes, there can be two types of intentions. One intention is that these homes are going to my children.
Yeah.
Yes. We will class them as actual need. Which in that case, on the value of the house, there will be no zakat. But if he places them on rent with this intention that these houses are going to be for his children, but for now they're on rent, then he'll pay zakat upon rent. If the intention is that I'm going to have this house, but on a later date I am going to sell them. Yes, I'm going to let them increase in value and then sell them. This is the investment. In this case, he'll have to pay zakat on the value of the house, and if he's putting lodgers in on rent, then he'll have to pay on the rent as well. Every year.
best to make sure you qualify your intention?
Yes. Your intention has to be correct.
What about something, let's say a farmer who has 100 sheep, and then they're growing obviously, and he's going to sell them all probably sell some sheep, etc. But for the year, he's still got the expense of maintaining his sheep and feeding them. And all
No,
that.
he cuts all that out, doesn't he? Yeah. He can value the sheep, and then all his expenses that he has, then he can cut down. But we do make a difference of animals that graze outside, yes, and those that graze inside, as in he has to graze them himself, as in give them they feed. And then there are certain animals that you don't have to give them it; they can just roam, and then he just brings them back in. Okay, there's a difference in zakat in regards to that. We won't going to go into that today, because I don't think any one of you is farmers. Anyone a farmer? You a farmer?
No.
Okay.
Do you have to pay zakat on cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is that Bitcoin, isn't it? Yes? I thought I got confused with the name then. Cryptocurrency is, according to myself, it needs a lot more research. So it's like a grey area at the moment. So in this way, I would say that because it's literally worthless, if you really look at it. For that reason, I would say there's nothing upon it at the moment. Okay? In terms of that, it is kind of pointless and worthless. Yes? People will realize in the future what happens with it. Yeah? Remember one thing, that it's a grey area, and this is what ulama will tell you to be careful of it. If it catches on in the future, then the actual ruling will come out. Okay? Meaning, for example, if it turns into a proper currency that people deal in,
Backed by the
Yes.
regulator,
yes,
central bank,
then in that case we'll say there is zakat on it, because then people are trading in that as a norm. Just like when paper notes came out, ulama said it's a grey area, we're not sure, this, that, the other. Yes, some said it's haram. Yes, you can't deal with paper currency. Some said no, it's okay. So that was a grey area. But then when it caught on and it became the norm, then those same ulama that may be against it one day came with it. Okay. But for now, ulama are saying that be careful of it. Yes. And there's many reasons behind that as well. One of the reasons is that majority of the world's economy runs on the petrol dollar. Yes. And there is no way that America, UK, and even countries like Russia will allow for something like Bitcoin to catch on into their countries. Yes. It might be dealt on a low level, yes, but it's not really as well. So when we say that it's really worth £20,000 or £30,000 or whatever it is, yes, that's in your own circle. That's in your own circle of Bitcoin. It's worth that much. So if another Bitcoin user decides to give you £20,000, yes, then you'll have to pay zakat on the £20,000. Yes, but as far as that Bitcoin is worth in itself outside in the real world, for example, you can't exactly go to your local shopkeeper and say, I'll give you some Bitcoins. Yes, so for that reason, it's worthless as well. It hasn't caught on. Does that make sense? Yes. So for that reason, we'll say that it's worthless. It is worthless. So it's just like your paper that you got in front of you. You don't pay zakat on it. Okay.
What about investments in standard currency? So the US dollar and the English pound fluctuating, or just as an example, if you buy lump sums of certain currencies and then you wait a week and that goes down, you can make a profit on that.
That's investment, isn't it? Then that will have zakat on it.
That would have zakat.
Yes, that would have zakat on it. Yes. Any investment that you make.
So would you count the zakat of everything you've earned for that year, because you don't know what you're gonna earn for the next? It's like, I don't know what I'm gonna make for this week, for example. It might be a loss. So would I calculate everything I made?
No, with the investment,
Yeah.
yes, you've put some money into that. First of all, the zakat will be on that investment that you have put in.
So
The money that you put in,
10,000,
yes,
for example.
there'll be zakat on that, yes, until you take it out.
Okay.
And then after that, the profits that you gain,
Yeah.
there'll be zakat on that.
Zakat on
Yes,
that.
yes, there'll be zakat. But when you attain it,
Okay.
when you
Attain it.
attain the profit, then a year passes on it.
So if before the year passes I put it back in, then
Then there's no zakat on it.
okay.
But there'll be zakat on the business, in the investment,
But there'll be
Yes.
zakat on the initial
on the initial
in the
investment.
initial
Yes,
investment. Okay.
that makes sense. Okay. But if it does catch on, as in a lot of people start trading in it and it's seen as valuable, yes, then in that case there's no doubt that zakat is on it. Okay, so it's just in that grey area. Maybe it has caught on. I'm not looking into it again. As in, has it really caught on, or yeah?
Waste of time.
Is it a waste of time? Anybody got some bitcoins? No? I'm not sure. I looked at it a long time ago when someone mentioned it, and then that's the only time I looked into it. But it didn't really catch on then. There was only certain people, and they're still arguing what it was. You know, that's when I looked at it. So even like the experts that of Bitcoin didn't even know what it was as well. Yes. So that was the time when I looked into it. But if it does catch on, as in people start dealing in it, and it's worth something, yes, it's actually worth. You know, you can. Let's look at this way, that you can trade it for gold and silver. If that day comes that when you can trade bitcoins for gold and silver, like you can trade cash for gold and silver, then in that case there will be zakat on it. Yes, there will be zakat on it. But what I'm saying here now, according to our ulama, classical ulama, by classical I mean in the Pakistan, classical as in just the generation behind us, many of them would say that there's no zakat on paper note. There is no zakat on paper notes. Okay. That is not backed by anything as well. That's one of the reasons I'm saying regarding Bitcoin as well. That is not backed by anything. So then in that case, there can't be zakat on it. In this one as well, our teacher, Ata Muhammad bin Yalvi, wrote a certain part in one of his writings that on paper notes, there is no zakat. Okay? So be rest assured, alhamdulillah, just sit at home with your 10,000 pounds. Keep counting it. If I get a chance, I'll bring it in and I'll read from it. And I can remember as well, I'm sure he wrote as well that there's no riba as well on paper notes.
There's no riba.
Yeah, on paper notes as well. But I'll have to check that again. I'm just saying at the top of my head.
So
but
the interest in the banks is keep it coming.
we will look into that next time. So it has to be extra of your needs. Okay. So one of the conditions of zakat being necessary is that a year has to pass on. You've gathered that now because I mentioned it. So 1 year has to pass on from the day you attained it. Okay, from the day you have attained that money, but it's not for every single lump sum of money that you get. Like you say, okay, I've got this on the 1st of January, so I have to wait a year on this. Then you got some money on the 1st of July, and then I have to do, next year I have to pay zakat on this and no. Okay, if you start your year on the 1st of January, yes, and you have nisab at that time, you have the threshold, then in that case, what happens is any money that you gain throughout the year will be attached to that money as well that you had in the start of the year. Yes. So if it's cash, then cash goes with cash. If it's gold, then gold goes with gold. Silver goes with silver, and like that throughout. Okay. It's permissible for you to pay, and if you're a businessman, this will come in handy, to pay your zakat for any forthcoming years now. Yes. So let's say 10,000 pounds you've got money, right? And at the end of the year, you had it from the start of the year till the end of the year. Okay? Or you had over nisab in the start of the year, and by the end of the year you've got 10,000 pounds. Yes? Now you know that you're going to make an investment, or you've already made an investment. Yes? And you know that investment is going to bring some large amount of money. Yes? Within the next couple of years. Let's say within the next 5 years, it's going to bring you a large amount of money. So what's 2.5% of 10,000? Yes, 250. So now you think, okay, 250, 10,000 pounds. Yes, next year I'm going to get an investment of 20,000, and the year after that is going to double to 40,000. Then third year is going to go into 60, 80, whatever it is, right? So you've planned it out. So you say, okay, 5 years. By 5 years, I will have a lump sum of how many? Let's say 100,000 pounds. Yes. So rather than paying, every year, You say, okay, I've got £10,000 now, so for 4 years, 5 years make it, 5 years, I'm going to pay £250 for every single year from this £10,000. So how much will you be paying? Yes? 1,250. Yes? So for 5 years he pays £1,250 for...
Year one.
No, in year 1, yes? But it's paid for year 2, 3 and 4 and 5. That make sense?
Why is he allowed to cheat?
Huh? Who said that's cheating? That's doing a good deed?
Yeah, why are you allowed to make that?
Why would God stop you from doing a good deed?
You're making an advance payment.
Advance payment? Yes? But that's something that you have idea of. You might not even get it.
Yeah, but you've kind of calculated.
What's that? It can go the other way around as well. You know.
So you're going to
Or if your
buy
ice cream place doesn't work, then what? It's just estimation, isn't it? It's just you thinking ahead and forecasting the figures.
You have to be very confident to pay 5 years of zakat in advance.
Yeah, but look, think about it. You might have, it's only £250 as well. Think about it. Yes, from £10,000, even £1,250 seems like change.
Then isn't it mixing like a bad intention?
No, it's mixing a good intention with a good intention.
Is it a question of morality? Is it morally right?
It's morally right as well. Yes. Why? Because you give more benefit to the poor right now. Yes.
Could I just qualify that? If, for example, you're saying that, you would pay 5 years in advance, then if your wealth or income does increase exponentially to that estimated level, on the additional sums of money, would you
No, even it doesn't matter what your forecast is. Yes. What we're saying is that for the next 5 years your zakat is paid. So any amount of money that you get, what you forecast is what you didn't forecast, whatever it is, you went above. You estimated to have £100,000, but you got £1 million.
So you don't need to pay zakat on any of that.
You don't need to pay any of that. But the catch is, after those 5 years end, yes, the 6th year enters, and if you still got the money at the end of the 6th year, you have to pay zakat on all of that money.
So the previous
That makes
five-
sense?
for the previous 5
It's
years,
just for not the previous 5 years, just for that 1 year then.
that sum.
So let's just say the person by the end of year 5, he had £100,000, yes? And then now the 6th year entered, he didn't spend his money. He still had £100,000 at the end of year 6. Yes? How much zakat is he going to pay? How much? 2,500. That's the zakat he's going to pay in year 6 then. And like that for every year he goes ahead. Unless he makes a new intention that I'm going to pay zakat for the next 10 years now. Yes? Something, and he can carry on.
25,000.
Can do it. Still sounds cheap for 100,000.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدا
One of the conditions of paying zakat is that you make intention that this money that you're giving in zakat is of zakat. Yes. Now that could be at the time when you pay the faqir, the poor person. You give him the money and you make an intention that this is zakat, or you don't pay the zakat yourself, as in physically yourself, but you have a representative. Yes, somebody you trust, and when you give him the zakat, you say to him that this is zakat. So when he goes and gives it to the faqir, he doesn't have to tell him. Or if that's not possible, then at the time of separating the money, so when you're working out your money, what's zakat and what's not, so you separate some money and say this is zakat. So you say £250 is zakat. Then one day you're walking along, yes, you find a faqir and you give him £250. Yes, the zakat will be paid.
Few questions here. Number one, do you have to pay zakat on your savings that you don't use every year?
That's what we class as savings.
Second question is, do women have to pay zakat on the gold they wear and not investment? She does not.
Any type of gold. All type of gold they have to pay zakat on. Okay. Investment, non-investment, there is zakat on it.
Even if she doesn't work, right?
Even if she doesn't work. She'd be rich in this day and age.
And third, if you have been given gold, do you have to owe? The question is wording is a bit strange. If you have been given gold, do you have to own it for a year before paying zakat on it?
Yes.
What about the designer clothes?
Designer clothes.
Like Mulberry handbag?
If it's for personal use here,
That is
yes,
the investment.
then that's not an that's jais, you can wear them. Not a bag though. The clothes, designer clothes or whatever, for your personal needs, yes, there's no zakat on them. You could have a whole wardrobe full of them. Okay. On this same sort of vibe, I read a fatwa from a Sunni person that if you have two TVs in the house, then you need to give zakat on the second TV. There's no fatwas like that. Okay, I don't know where that person got it from. Clothes that you don't use, there's zakat on them. There's no zakat on them. Okay, there will only be zakat on them if you use them as stock on trade. Yes, meaning if you decided those old clothes you're going to give to charity, there's no zakat on them. You're giving them to charity. So this fatwa is actually given by somebody prominent as well, who you'll probably know. It was given in English as well, and he said that you give zakat on a second TV if you got one, yes, a second PlayStation, a second car. There's no such ruling in this case. If you have two cars, if the second car is an investment, then there will be zakat on it. But generally, if you're in the car trade and you're a private, you're not in the car trade rather, and you're just going to sell your car privately, you're definitely going to come into loss.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's not an investment. Yes, normally you would buy as a private person. You buy your car, I don't know, £3,000. Once you owned it for a year, yes, you will sell that car about £1,500 or £2,000. Yes, most to most. Yes, it'll drop in value. Trade people do it in a different manner. You know, they'll buy cars from the auction or something like that, or buy really cheap and then fix it all up and then sell it at a higher price. That's different for them. So in this case, owning two cars as well does not bring about zakat on you. Okay, the only time you have it is when you have it as an investment. Okay, when you have it as a investment. So keep an eye on these two TVs. You know, sisters will be in trouble with all the clothes that they have. You know, how do you price it? You have to ask that as well. How do you price those clothes then?
So you know, like for example, the Mulberry bag one.
Yes.
If you do buy the Mulberry bag and then 6 years down the line, it's worth a lot more and you choose to sell it.
Yeah.
Would you have to pay zakat
On the money that you received,
the
though.
money that you
Yeah.
receive? Okay, so you
You know, the intention isn't if you've intended that I'm only buying this bag, that I sell it later on. Yes, that's an investment then, isn't it?
yeah.
But if you've had it, you've used it, and thought I don't need it anymore, then you put it on eBay or something, yes, to sell it. Yes. Now if it lasts for a year, then you pay zakat on it because now it's an investment, isn't it? But obviously, if you sold it within the year, there'll be no zakat on it. But if you kept the money for a year, there'll be zakat on the money. There wouldn't. There's zakat on money anyway. Yes, that makes sense. So there's no zakat on extra things that you have. It actually indicates that if you have two mobile phones, there's zakat on the second one. So there's no such rulings like that. If they're your personal need, yes, that you actually use them for whatever reason, yes, one's your personal phone and one's your work phone, and you people sometimes have a need for that, yes. I don't know, maybe they have a hard time figuring out, if it's a personal call or a work call, but there might be a real need for it. That's fine. But there's no such thing as if you have something extra, then you need to. I mean, if that's the case, then we got a lot of zakat to pay. If you take a look at your own houses, then you find a lot of things, unnecessary things. Yes, Pakistanis are hoarders, aren't they? Yes, they hoard a lot of things, so they keep a lot of things. So there'll be a lot of things that you need to give zakat on. Okay. We do find, there are certain things which are worth things as well, which you might not need. That might be tools and things that, there are certain tools that you'll have in the house, but I'm talking about professional tools. Yes, that, so for example, your father might have been a professional person. Now he has certain tools, yes, which are worth a lot. Now you have no use for them, you have to pay zakat on them. Yes. Similarly, like we say, if there's a scholar and he's got a library, he may pass away, and now the books are left to his son, but his son does not have the capability of reading those books. Yes, maybe they're in Arabic and he wasn't taught Arabic. Now the thing is, he'll have to pay zakat on those books.
Really?
Yes.
Even if you were to keep it as a memory kind of thing.
Yes. Okay. Because they're worth a lot.
Okay.
Yes. They'll be worth a lot. If these are like books which are special books. If they're common books, then they're not in this.
What would you say is special? Example.
All Arabic books are special.
Universal principle.
Universal principle. It's just something that when he can't access them, then he has no use for them, does he? When he has no use for them, then in that case, some ulama say that there will be zakat on them. Because they're a professional tool, really. Go for it.
With regards to the question, if you've been given gold, do you have to owe it for a year before paying zakat afterwards? Yeah.
We said yes.
And someone asked, why if your nisab, I can't understand the wording, but why if your nisab date has come, do you deduct the gold amount?
What's that?
What if your, I'm going to interpret it
Okay.
and say that, what if your nisab date has come, do you deduct the gold
What if
amount?
your nisab data?
Date has come?
Date.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do you deduct that gold?
Yeah.
No, your gold, like we said, if you have previous gold in your ownership, then the new gold will be attached to that. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yes? So for example, if you have, I don't know, 100 grams of gold, and a year's passing over that, and it's coming to an end to it, 2 days earlier before it comes to an end, you've attained another 100 grams of gold. That both of them will be attached together, you'll pay zakat on 200.
Even though it's not what you
No.
have asked.
We just look at the aspect of,
gold.
let's say you had no gold in your possession, yes, but you had money, cash, whatever, and that was coming in 2 days earlier you, before your year finished, you attained gold. Now there's nothing to attach it to, is there? Yes?
Isn't the requirements is 1 year though? 1 year has to pass before you pay.
On gold, not on that specific gold that you just attained. Yes, so if you already got gold in your possession, then they treat it as one, aren't they?
So, for example, before marriage, if you've got gold,
Yes.
right, and then, so you pay zakat on that, but then after marriage, if you get gold for the first time,
No. If you got gold previously, so let's just say you got gold and then it reaches the threshold, and then what happens is a week before you got married, before your year ended on that gold, your personal gold, before you got married, you became a millionaire in gold because what people gave you. Okay, so now what will happen is that £1 million worth of gold that you got on your wedding, yes, that will be zakatable. Yes,
Even though
you'll attach it to your previous gold, your personal gold.
okay.
Yes, even though a year has not passed on it. Why? Because we're looking at the category, not the specific amount that you just attained. We're looking that you've already got gold which was at the threshold or above the threshold. If you had gold which was under the threshold, yes, then we won't need to attach it because it wasn't complete. And that's one of the conditions as well. Yes, the threshold that we're going to tell you needs to be complete in the start of the year and at the end of the year. Yes. So, for example, we're going to tell you it's going to be 200 dirhams, but we're going to work it out in terms of pounds as well. So it has to be 200 dirhams at the start and 200 dirhams at the end. Okay. So they have to be complete. If it's less in the start and complete at the end, there's no zakat. There is no zakat. If it's complete at the start and incomplete at the end, there's no zakat.
And the condition that you mentioned was the only price for gold then?
No, everything.
No, as in getting,
Everything, cash as well.
okay, even though 1 year hasn't passed?
Yes. So if you got £2,000, £3,000 in the start of the year, and then in the middle of the year you attain another £4,000, how much is that? £7,000. Then a day before the year ended, yes, you attain an extra £1,000. Yes, £8,000. Now, and they're all savings. They're all savings. Now the day the year passes, you have to pay on £8,000. Yes, if it's savings, that is. Yes, does that make sense? The question? No, as long as you've got it, okay. Then in that case, it's going to be zakat on it. Okay. If it's in the immediate future, then you can deduct it. Okay. If you're going to pass this on to somebody, that you've got it, you're going to buy a house for your son or your daughter, and you've got that there. Now, all you need to do is just swap the ownership. Say my daughter owns it. Okay. Does that make sense?
What if it's a case of every year someone owns the gold in the house?
I mean, that's a loophole in the Sharia. Yes, that one day before it becomes wajib upon you, just give it to somebody else. Say you own it now. Yes.
And then
But if he says I never give you it back, then you're stuck. Okay. I mean, for men should just follow the sunnah. Yes. Everything you get, just give it to your wives. Yes. There's no zakat on you. Yes.
But it could be gifted by the male member though, can't it?
Yes. Meaning it's given to the wife. Okay. But this is the sunnah of the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ would give a year's expenditure to the wives, and they would have it for a whole year.
What about those people who are not married?
What's that?
What about those people that are not married?
Just give it to your parents. I mean, I do the same. For example, myself, I have childhood habit. I don't carry money or have own money. Or I don't even own anything. I have nothing except my car to my name, I think. And even the DVLA tells me that I don't own the car. Okay? You must know that, don't you? Yes, your logbook says it's not proof of ownership, so you don't own the car as well. So yeah, whatever I get, I just give it out. So, I mean, I'm lazy in giving zakat, so I don't want that on my head, do I? Okay, so it's easy just to say, okay, this is yours now. Yes. You pay the bills, you pay the mortgage, you do everything with it that you want to do. It's got nothing to do with me. Yes. And it's a sunnah as well. The Prophet ﷺ used to do that, and he wouldn't keep anything for himself. The Prophet ﷺ would get 1 or 2 gold coins, and he would go out into the streets of Medina and give them out before he went into Salah. Okay. So, meaning that the principle is the Prophet ﷺ would never prostrate with money in his pocket or in his ownership. Okay, so it's good to live like that.
Then it's like, how, if people who do business, how are you going to do business?
No, that's for businessmen, isn't it? We're not business.
So let's say I have 10,000 in cash.
MashaAllah. Are you donating it?
Okay, so just before the year ends, because you pay the cut on the year end, right? Okay, so just before the year ends, I take all that cash and then buy gold. Do I then pay zakat after year end.
On the
Or
gold.
No, on the cash.
No, because you used it, haven't you?
Okay, so now on the gold, do I pay the card?
No,
for
you'll
the
have to. A year will
first
have to pass.
A year would have to pass.
Yes.
Okay, so then
But if you have gold in possession,
no. Okay, so now let's say the second year, before the second year ends, I decide to now buy cash. Would I?
yeah,
pay-
same thing. But if you have
Okay, so
the point here is if you have gold previously, yes. So if you buy new gold, if the previous gold was at a threshold already in the start of the year,
yeah.
then that gold will be attached to that previous gold, and you pay zakat on all of it.
Okay.
Now next year when you decide to transfer this gold into cash, yes, if you already have savings above the threshold, yes,
Yeah.
and now you got rid of this gold and bought more cash in, you'll have to add the new money that's coming in to the previous, and you have to pay zakat on it all.
Okay.
That makes sense?
So I think
Like-
he's looking at it in the sense of I've never had gold
Yes.
before. I've got
Yes.
£10,000 in cash.
Then in that case you can.
I'm gonna buy 10,000.
That's a
in
loophole
gold.
then, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a loophole. That's a loophole.
So you can cheat zakat every year using that method.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to benefit you.
Yeah, you just.
So the question is that if you have a house worth £100,000, do you pay zakat on it? I guess it depends, really, doesn't it?
A house, is it your own house or an investment?
And I mean, it depends on the circumstances. This has been a very generic question.
If it's an investment, then yes, zakat on the value of that house, on the current age, the date that it's at. So here, there will be ikhtilaf in terms of which value to follow, in terms of the day it became fard, as in the zakat became fard upon that house, or the day you pay the zakat. That is disputed in the Hanafi fiqh. Yes? That can mean a world of a difference, can't it? For example, the house might be valued at £100,000, the day became fard upon you. Yes? So a year passed over the house, and bang on a year the house was worth £100,000. But then a week later, you were about to give it to the fakir. When you check the value this time, it's going to £200,000. It can change, can't it? So there is a dispute on which one to follow. Okay. Let's move on, and we was talking about, there is a section about loans, but it's kind of difficult and it'd be hard to explain to you because some of the terminology in it, which you might not understand, if the examples that are there, and they come with a few terms which you might not understand, so we're going to skip that part. One masla is if you have wealth but you forgot where it was. Yes? There's no zakat on it until you find it. So one of the examples, you have a massive house, 100 rooms, you forgot which room you put it in. Yeah? So then, in that case, sisters have suitcases instead, so they forgot which suitcase it's in. Then in that case, until you don't retrieve it, then you don't have to pay zakat on it. Similarly, if you buried some gold or silver in the garden, but you forgot now which place it was in, yes? So in that case, when you can't find it, then there's no zakat on it until you find it. Simple. So in case like things which you've lost basically, so there won't be zakat on them. Now when it comes to giving zakat, you can give zakat in terms of measured things, in terms of weighed things, food and drinks basically. You can give it in these, but I would say in this day and age it's better to just give it in cash. Give it in cash so that people know their needs better. Now we find that a lot of people send clothes to these camps. The thing is, some of these camps don't need clothes.
They need food.
They need food. Yes. So it's hard. And sometimes you might send food, roti salan, but they might be Arabs, they can't eat it. So it's hard to keep up with these things, isn't it? So then isn't it just better to give the cash? Yes? Because with that cash, they can buy whatever their needs are. But there are certain places where food is needed. For example, in Africa, food is very rare. Meat, for example, is very rare. So in that case, I would say buy the meat, because there's no point giving them the cash
to go buy
to go buy
meat
meat which they don't have. Yes. So in that case, you buy the meat for them. So you have to look at the needs in that sense. Some of the things that he mentions now, we've already discussed them, so I'm not going to repeat them. I've already talked about the threshold being there from the start of the year to the end of the year. If it dips below the threshold, yes, then this does not affect the nisab, as long as it's complete on both sides. Yes. If it goes to zero, as in one is just dipping below. So like in silver we say it's 200 dirhams. Now if you had 200 dirhams at the start of the year, by the time you got to July, it dipped below that, meaning your savings were only 150. But by the end of the year again it raised back up above 200, then there'll be zakat. But this is your personal wealth, by the way. If it was threshold was there in the start of the year, then in the middle it went to zero, you lost everything. Yes? Now in this case, for your personal wealth, there's no zakat now. Meaning if you attain more money, you'll have to start a new year on it. Yeah?
Because you reach zero.
Yeah, because you reach zero. But if it's trade, yes, if it's trade, then this doesn't matter. So that happens in trade, doesn't it? You sell everything, yes? Then you get more stock in, don't you? So like that, that carries on. You have to pay zakat on that. Now look, he says here that in the nisab of gold is 20 misqal, and the nisab of silver is 200 dirhams. 200 dirhams. I'm just going to make it easy for you. Anybody got board rubber? Silver is 52 and a half tola. 52 and a half tola. So silver is 52.5, 52 and a half tolado, and gold is 7.5 tola. Okay. We're going to convert these into grams first of all. Yes. But there's a big difference between an Indian tola and a Pakistani tola. Okay. I'm sure the Pakistani tola might be more than the Indian one, but we're going to follow the Pakistani tola because that's the gold you buy, don't you? Generally. So we'll go with that one if the board rubber ever comes.
Does anybody have a tissue paper? I don't have a clean tissue paper. What about the tissue?
Anybody got tissue paper?
Yeah, do we have that?
Yeah, we got one. It's okay. So we went all around the building to find one. I don't think anybody used the board in this building. Sometimes teachers complain that they don't have equipment. We don't have a whiteboard. When you get them a whiteboard, they don't use it.
Committed it all to memory.
It's, you have to put up with things like this sometimes. So what was it for gold? 7.5 tola, yes? That's for gold, okay? Silver? 52.5. Feels weird writing English. So 52.5 tola though. Okay?
That's your threshold.
That's your threshold. That's your threshold. 1 tola, either it be for gold or silver, is equal to 12 grams. Forget that, right? 12.5 grams. And let me just check the Indian one. Can somebody just go on the bullion site? So check the price of gold and silver for today's date, market price times.
Bullion by post.
I think that's what it's called.
953 pounds for gold an ounce and 12.2454 for silver.
What's that, sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come to that. So 1 tola Indian was about roughly about 11 point, do it 12, close really. So it's 11.6. So 1 tola in Indian, that is 11.6 grams.
And the Pakistani one is.
It's 12. But if you want to round that off, it is 12 then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the business people, there'll be a difference for them. What's that?
Is that 52.5?
Yeah, 52.5. So now, when you know that, so how much? We're going to work with this one though, okay? We're going to work with that one. Anybody need the Indian one? Just in case you got Indian gold.
What about universal gold?
Universal gold.
No,
We'll just we use this one anyway. It's generally. So, in terms of that, what's the threshold for silver in grams? We're going to use that later on. So you got 52.5, haven't you? Yes. What did it come to? 656.25.
grams.
Yes. I'm just going to write underneath. What was it again? 656.25. 656.25. Okay, that's in grams. And for gold, is 93.75 in grams. And that will be universal for you, if you get English gold as well. Okay.
There's some figures, are they wrong or?
What? Show me those figures in.
700 grams?
Hmm?
200 dirhams or 700 grams?
No, he's worked out all completely. We're just going with the basic here. Where's he got it?
Yeah, on the left side.
On your right.
On my right.
See, when it comes to money,
I don't know how he's worked that out.
when it comes to monetary matters, people are very particular. And zakat, it's very
We'll go with this anyway.
subject.
Okay. We'll go with this.
Yeah,
So 93.75 grams. Okay. We'll do gold first. What's the price of gold for today? In grams? 30.6.
6
Yes? So we just do it 31 pound.
Yeah.
Yes? So the price of 1 gram is Yes, so 1 gram of gold. Gold is 36 pound.
31 pounds.
Oh, sorry, 31. Gonna make it heavy for you then. 31 pound. Yes. So 31. Sorry. Yes. You can times 31 with 93.75. Yes.
31 times 97. Do you mean 93.75?
Yep.
2,906.25. 2,906.
2,906.25 pence.
Pounds, yeah.
Yeah. That's your threshold. Meaning that's worth $7.5 and 93.75 grams. That's cash, yes. That's in pounds now. 2,906 pound
So if
26.
you have that in savings,
in savings.
then you give that.
Then zakat will be fard upon that. Now, what was the price of silver?
Per gram,
1 gram, yeah.
39p.
That's cheap.
Yeah, 40p.
40p, yeah. 1 gram is 40 pence. Times it by, what was it? 656.25.
40 times 656. Oh, sorry.
26,250.
26.
250.
But that's in pence. It's 262 pound 50.
Yeah.
Say again, sorry.
262 pound
262 pounds
50.
50.
6.4.
That is your zakat on silver. Okay? That's equal to $52.5. $5 and 656.25 grams. Okay? That's what it's worth. Okay? That's what it's worth.
So minimum is 93.75 gram of gold.
Yes. Does that make sense? So now there is a bit of a dispute as which one you should follow. Okay. If memory serves correct, the British currency is based on silver, isn't it?
Yes.
So your zakat should be given on silver. Yes. So what's 2.5% of that? Who's the mathematicians here?
£4. No, about £6 something.
£6, 7 pence.
262.
There's a brother called Sabir
6 pound
who's very, really quick.
£6.56.
£6,
56.
56.
£6.57.
I would give him literally any number, and not in a minute, he'll just straight numbers out. He will just do it. I taught him inheritance and I taught him zakat. I taught him lots of things, but when I taught him inheritance as well, and zakat especially, he is really quick with numbers. And sometimes I've tested him, like giving him just like random numbers and big numbers as well sometimes. And he's really quick with them, and I mean literally at minutes. But his daily job, he's a shopkeeper. He owns a chain of shops,
Constantly.
and he has to cash up all the money and make all the balance sheets. So he doesn't count the money now. He gets his kids to do it, but he does the balance sheets, I think. But he was really, really quick. Or you can do it like Maulana Ishtiyaq. I don't know if you know Maulana Ishtiyaq. Maulana Ishtiyaq works it out backwards. I don't know how he does it, but he does it the Pakistani way. Yes.
What do you mean?
For example, like many people use the times tables to work out things.
Yeah.
Yes. So me and you would go upwards, as in we'll try to find it out in terms of what is it. If you're looking at something in the 4 times table, so it'll be like 4 times 1, and we'll go through it, 4, 8, like that. It does it backwards.
There's a 40,
Yeah, something like that it does.
It's so hard for
So-
you to stop picking numbers.
It's quite amazing how he does it. He just does it totally backwards. Yes. So you'll be working upwards, trying to get to a bigger number. He's starting from a bigger number, trying to get to a smaller number.
So like this £262.50,
Yes.
I would work out 1% and then times it by 2.
Yes.
That way.
He would just do it the other way.
That's 100% and it'll come down 90, 80, 70.
It's weird how it does it, but I can't explain it. But when you see it, you know what I'm talking about. It works out differently. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, that's your zakat. That's what you pay zakat on. I was going to tell you that there's a dispute which one you pay zakat on. I would say pay zakat on the 200, but some ulama said that pay zakat on the gold currency in cash. Why? Because that's more benefit for the fakir. So how much is it on that? Round it off, I don't know, to 3,000 just to make life easy.
So 1% would be 90
£90.
pounds. Well, sorry.
Just it's rounded off anyway, so
85.
85, yes. So 85, £90, whatever it is. In terms of that, that's more beneficial to the fakir, isn't it? Yes? As opposed to what was it, £4? Do you understand that? So some people say that. But a lot of people say that have it on the gold. Have it on the gold. So if you have that saving, then in that case, pay zakat on it.
So that means that if you have like 262.5 of cash, then zakat is applicable on that.
On the silver, but we're talking about that. Which one do we follow? You got two now, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have silver, then you follow that. Yes? If you have gold, then you follow that. What I'm talking about is cash notes. Yes? If you have notes on you, then which one do you follow? That's a dispute. Some ulama say because the currency, British pound, is based on silver, okay, then in that case you should follow silver. Yes? Some will say no, follow the gold. Why? Because if you follow the silver, then it's not beneficial for the fakir. Rather, if you have the gold, if you have nisab of that, then at least when a person pays zakat, they pay a considerable amount.
So this is best to follow gold instead then?
I say pay zakat on everything. It's better to follow the gold in that sense. I used to say silver before, but I think it's better to follow the gold. Yes? But if you're feeling generous, alhamdulillah, what is £4? Yes? What is £4? So yeah, you can. In terms of giving benefit to the fakir, is better on the gold, but in terms of zakat being fard, okay, it's better for it to be on the silver, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. But I would still say for cash, base it on the gold. I used to say a long time ago that base it on silver, okay, but in those days silver was kind of high priced. Okay. Meaning when we were working at that time, a long time ago this is, it was coming to like £500-600, which is still better than £200. Yeah. So then I used to say for that reason, in terms of savings, then base it on the silver. But obviously times have changed. Okay. Gold seems to be at the same price, more or less.
Steady.
Yeah, steady. Okay. So that's that. The next chapter is to do with the masraf, as who you can give it to. Fakir, a poor person, and he is a person who has wealth but it doesn't reach nisab. Doesn't reach. That's one other thing I want to tell you. That when you're looking for a fakir, then base his on the gold as well. Base his on the gold. As in when you're looking at a person, is he really fakir? You ask him how much savings he has. Yes? Then if he says £500, don't go with this one, go with the gold one instead. Yes? Because then you can help him out. That's for cash though. Then there is a miskin. A miskin is a person who has nothing, completely nothing to his name. You can give it to a mukatab slave. A mukatab slave is a slave who his master says to him that you go out work, get me £1,000 and then you are free. Then you are free. That's a mukatab slave. Then you can give him the money. There is a person who has a loan. Yes? But he doesn't possess nisab. Yes. Doesn't possess nisab. I.e., he has so much loans that his loans just take up all his savings as well. he can never own a nisab, then that person you can give zakat to. We sometimes call this as well daini muhit, that he has such a loan which covers his wealth, that if he got rid of all his wealth, he still couldn't pay his loan off, then that person is eligible to zakat. Then there is fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are, for example, soldiers, but not soldiers that are part of the army and they're with the army, they looked after there. But soldiers, for example, he was traveling with his army, but somehow he missed the train. Yes? And now he needs to join the army, but he has nothing. Yes? So then you can give him zakat to join the army, as in get back with them. Or a haji, similar scenario, that he was waiting for the train or plane, and it's one of those transit flights. So he's waiting in Turkey somewhere, he went to put on his ihram. When he came back, the flight's gone. Yes? Now he's stranded, isn't he? Now they won't let him board a flight until he pays, for example. Now if you got zakat money, you can give him it. Give him zakat money for him to get to Hajj. Similarly, and this we say students of knowledge who are studying outside of their town. Okay? That they are wealthy at home, but they seem to be stranded in where they're studying. Then in that case you can give them the zakat. So madrasa you can give zakat to. Ibn Sabil, and a student can also come in this as well. It literally means son of the way. Yes? But its definition is that a person who has wealth back home in his hometown, but where he is now he's got nothing, then you can give him zakat. Then there are the amilin, and I'm going to be tough on this one. That's the amilin, the workers. Yes, but which workers? The zakat collectors. You can give the wage of the zakat collectors from the zakat. But the aji baji that's going on about now, that every Tom, Dick and Harry stands up and he establishes a charity and starts paying himself with it. Yes? This is something I don't agree with. Okay? Because it's made clear in some of the books of fiqh that the Imam has the authority. And the Imam here refers to the Khalifa. Okay? The Khalifa has the authority to promise them that they will get a wage, and that wage can come out of the zakat. So it has to be Theresa May or somebody like that who can appoint that for you. Yes, as in the leader of your country. Or if there's a caliphate, then the Khalifa has the right to do that. Not for any Tom, Dick and Harry just to become a CEO of a charity and say that you're going to work for me and I'm going to pay you through zakat. That is completely wrong. If they do pay through the zakat, then it's completely haram. Yes? They don't have the right to do that.
But in these terms, isn't that the point of a CEO?
No.
He's the head of
No.
the
He
charity.
doesn't have the right, though, does he? Islamically, he doesn't have the right. What is the CEO? Who is the CEO? It doesn't mean anything.
So does that mean that Islamically you would appoint an imam as a CEO?
The person who collects zakat should be the imam. The imam here, I'm not talking about the imam of the masjid.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the imam as in the leader of the Muslims. He has the right to collect zakat. Yes?
So in this day and age,
People can collect zakat, there's nothing wrong with that. People can collect zakat, but those people who are collecting zakat, can they be paid from that zakat? No, they can't be paid from that zakat. And nor can any CEO promise his workers to be paid from zakat money. Nafli sadaqah, on the other hand, is a different option. As in, if you want to pay them through nafli sadaqah, then that's permissible.
Yeah.
But through zakat, no. Okay.
What if theoretically you had enough money from zakat collections that you could appoint someone to use that as an investment for returns,
For zakat money,
For
it's
zakat.
completely haram.
but no benefit for anyone other than the people that it would be going to?
It's completely haram. It's completely haram. That money should go to where it's needed.
Straight away.
Yes. Needs to be spent. Yes. the best way to do it is talk to the people, yes, and give them the share in the company then.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
That's the best thing to do. But they don't do that. What they do is they buy the company, they make an orphanage. Well, orphanage is a different scenario.
Yeah.
They'll make like a center or something, yes, and they'll retain possession of the center on their own name,
Yeah.
and any businesses associated with that center,
How trust as well.
yes, how trustworthy, they'll keep it on their own name, yes. But the point here is that one of the, remember when we said regarding zakat, yes, is transferring ownership. In this case, there's no transference of ownership, is there? Who are you giving it to? It's like you're giving it to yourself.
It's not cooperative.
Yes. So then in this case, the best way I can only think of is that you get the fakir, you say here is I don't know, £20,000, you have it, yes, we're going to give you this, but you give it back to us in terms of an investment,
Yeah.
yes, that we set up this business for you, and any income or any profit that comes, it goes to you.
Goes to you, yeah.
That's his up to him now, isn't it? Once you've given him it, if he says, I want to do it, he does it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Yes?
Question to Martin is that if you have the gold, for example, if you're writing back, says, do you pay the zakat in giving the gold to the poor? Can you give money in replacement of the gold?
You can give money. You can either give the gold or give a portion of the gold or money.
What about in the sense, not zakat, just in charity in general? For example, I can collect from everyone here £100 each, and we've all got £1,000. But I know that you're good with investment or something. I can give you that 1,000.
Nafli sadaqah, yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
then you can turn
The
it into
nafli sadaqah is
fine,
fine.
whatever.
Nafli sadaqah is fine. We're talking about zakat here.
Yeah.
In terms of zakat, it can't be done. Okay. Another thing with nafli sadaqah as well, nafli sadaqah is also by intention. A lot of people miss this out. So whatever intention you're given it with, yes, it's the rightful duty of that charity to spend it in that way. Yeah. And if they're going to spend it somewhere else, they have to seek permission from you. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why I've always said I do not trust charities.
Very much.
Okay. I've always said it. I might help certain charities out here there, but I do not trust any one of them. Yes, it's good to help charities where the cause is needed, and
There's a lot of these charities corporate entities.
yes,
And it's a very shadowy world.
Yes.
I mean, what goes on behind the scenes when you read
I mean I've always volunteered for charities since I was young, and I don't want to name any charities, but some major players there for Palestine as well. Yes, and various other places, but they're all a bunch of fraud really. And I've always said it, even before the certain charity that was set up under a certain sheikh's name. Even before that as well, I used to always say that I don't want to be part of a charity. Hence why I've never always been with one charity in that sense, because it's just a pack of lies really, and that's the truth regarding charities. Yes, and I see how they will benefit for themselves. Okay, and how they treat money, how they spend money. I've said this last time to somebody as well. How hard is it for the brothers and sisters that go out? Yes, you send them out everything, right? A lot of people just give zakat money and they put into the buckets. Yes, and as I've seen people as well who will collect money. Yes, all it takes for them is just to go around the corner and empty it all out into their own pockets. Yes, it happens, doesn't it? It happens a lot, and it happens throughout the whole year. You get, and this is why I say as well, any door-to-door people that come to you in terms of charity, it's illegal anyway to do door-to-door. Okay, so you shouldn't be giving them anyway door-to-door. Secondly, in terms of masjid as well, be careful in that. Be careful in that. People might come to you door-to-door and say, I'm from so-and-so mosque, and you don't know where it is as well. Okay? I personally don't give them. And I said this last time as well, like I know on Howard Road, there's Howard Road Masjid, and two elderly gentlemen every Sunday come to my house. Yes, from Howard Road Masjid, I know who they are. Yes, and I know they do it fi sabilillah as well. They don't take a cut from it. Yes? But I know from other places and other masajid and other madrasas that they get people from Pakistan who come here and they'll work for them. And I know because I've seen it with my own eyes from other mosques, that they'll send these people out, they'll bring the money back. Yeah? When they bring the money back, they probably, wallahu alam, how much they've already taken out. Yeah? That's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But, and there's no word of a lie, there's some of them I've seen, they take 50% of what's in the bucket. You know, when he tells you the receipt and gives you it, because he said he's from Manchester Road somewhere, yes, or he's from Thornbury somewhere or wherever, and he's come to your area. The truth is, when he's gone back there, wallahu alam how much he's already taken out and put in his own pocket. When he gets there and he cashes it with whoever he's cashing it with, he's taking 50% off them, whereas you have given to whom? To the masjid. Yes? And remember one thing, for committee members to do that as well is completely haram. It comes in the same category for them to say, look, you go out, collect it, and we will give you £50 from that collection of the masjid. It's completely haram to give that person money from the collection of the masjid.
They call it payment by results.
Payment by results, yes. And there are other examples of this as well, that to pay the person from the actions that he's done. Like you have a person who's harvesting rice, yes, he's farming rice, yes. Now he goes out there, he gathers all the rice, and then at the end of the day you say, look, just take 2 bags of rice. Yes, the Prophet said it's makruh to do that. The Prophet severely disliked it, and you shouldn't do that. So it comes into this as well, doesn't it? How do you get money to the right people? In this day and age, there's a lot of people, homeless Muslims as well, who are, in terms of zakat, you can only give it to Muslims. Yes, in terms of fitrana and things which are wajib, you can only give them to Muslims. And you'll find there are a lot of people who are homeless out of Muslims in the UK, in Bradford. Yes, and if it's nafli sadaqah, then they have soup kitchens and a lot of homeless people. Yes, you just need to go into town and see, you see a whole array of people who are homeless and genuinely homeless as well. You do get those gangs, you can tell them the difference between them. Yes, so if you just do your research slightly, you'll know. Okay. So that's that. The Ibn Sabil, the Amilin. Now, according to us, you can give your zakat to any one of these categories. Yes, even if the other one is present there as well. So there's a faqir, you decide to give your zakat to the faqir, that's fine. While there's a miskin sat there as well, that's fine. You don't have to give the miskin anything. And if you want to give them to both of them, then that's good as well. Imam Shafi, on the other hand, says that if there's a faqir, miskin, Ibn Sabil, and Fi Sabilillah, all these categories there are, and you have the ability to give to all of them, then Imam Shafi says it's necessary for you to give it to all of them. And if you only choose one of them, your zakat is not paid. That makes sense? Yes? Ours is slightly easier. Yes? If you want to give it just to a faqir, you give it to a faqir, even if there is a miskin or other categories of people you can give zakat to. Zakat is haram to give to Bani Hashim. Yes? They're the Sadat basically, but Imam Tahawi allowed it. Yes, and because the reason is that the zakat was not given to the Sadat for one reason, and that was because they would get a fifth, okay, from the Baytul Mal basically, of war booty and whatever, the fifth of the fifth rather. So the Prophet would get a fifth, they would get a fifth of the fifth, and that they would get money that way. And Imam Tahawi said because that's been kind of, not abolished, but in terms of our day and age, nobody follows it. Yes, it doesn't exist anymore. So for that reason, you can give zakat to them. You can give zakat to them. But having said that, a lot of people still give the fatwa that you cannot give zakat to the Sadat. Yes. Hence why you'll see people, ulama, finding other ways of getting money to the Sadat. Yes, nazar lagi hai, Sadat ke paise do. Yes, they say something like that. And the blessing as well, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just like a thing that they'll do just to get money to the Sadat. Yes, they tell you, so I've seen some people that say burn the black thread. Yes, how does it work? If it completely burns, then there's nazar, isn't there? Yes, if it completely burns, then give money to the Sadat, they'll say. Which again is nothing wrong with. I don't agree with the burning the thread thing. I think with the chilies, do they burn them or heat them up? What do they do? Yeah, they burn them, and if they let off fumes or something, then there's nazar on you, and if they, yes, So, and you'll be sure a lot of people follow it. It's Hindu tradition from what, as far as I know. Okay? But if it does help, then alhamdulillah, you can use it as medicine. Okay? I mean, there's nothing in Sharia to
Bind it.
yes. I mean, they say that if you do these things, then it removes the evil eye. So if it is there, it does it. But just read Surah Fatiha below the person. Yes? And that'll be good enough. And you'll see they'll have its effects on the person. So you find loopholes like this, where people will try to get money to the Sadat. Some people have set up funds for the Sadat, so where they collect Nafli Sadaqah and they gather them and then they give them to the Sadat.
Can you? Isn't it that you can't give charity to them either? Like
You can give
sadaqah.
charity, you can,
give sadaqah.
Nafli Sadaqah is jais, Zakat is haram for them.
But didn't Salman Farsi?
He gave Farzi Sadaqah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to keep an eye on the terminology of the Sahaba as well. It kind of changes from ours. So when you read Hadith Sharif and the Sahaba say regarding Sadaqah, yes, that refers to Zakat. Okay? They would call Zakat Sadaqah.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay. Got it.
Yes, so in that Hadith he says that he gave that, didn't he?
Yeah, he said
Yes.
sadaqah.
And then the next time he came, he gave Hadiyah. Now, Hadiyah is something that the Prophet would eat. Okay? So that's that. A person cannot give zakat to his usul, as in his forefathers. Yes, going upwards. So your parents, you can't give zakat to them. Your grandparents, you can't give zakat to them. Similarly, your furu', yes, your children, your grandchildren. Anyone got great grandchildren here? Yeah. So if you got great grandchildren, you can't give zakat to them. You can't give zakat to your own wife.
You can't.
Yes, you can't. Okay, you can't give zakat to your own wife. Why? Because you owe her anyway, don't you?
How did that happen?
Huh? You need to provide a roof over her head.
It's part of your responsibility.
Yes, it's part of your responsibility. So she should never be poor anyway, because of you. Okay. So then my formula works better, doesn't it? Just give her all the money, yeah, and she pays the zakat. Your own slave.
So do you give her your bank card as well? Like
I don't have a bank card. I mean, I do have a bank card, but I don't have a bank card. If you know what I mean. I open my account. You want this to give EMA? Yes? That's when I open my bank account. And I haven't used it since. Anyway. So, your own slave, why is that? Why can't you give it to your own slave?
They have a right.
Huh?
They have a right to it.
You have a right over them.
Yeah, that you have to
Yes?
provide for them.
Yeah, that's one way. But you own him, don't you?
Yeah.
And everything he owns, you own as well. So it's like giving you money to yourself.
Yeah.
So when you give him, for example, £100, you also have the authority to take that £100 off him. Yes? You know what your parents do? When somebody comes to your house and they say, "Bache waste hai," right? Your parents take it, don't they? So basically you can do that, can't you? You can say, you know,
But on camera, you can't.
so obviously you own him and everything he owns. Yes? You own that as well. So it's like giving it to yourself then, isn't it? Yes? So you can't do that. Same thing with your muqatab slave. Remember I told you the muqatab slave is that person who you say, go earn £1,000. Yes, give me it, then you're free. Yes? Now it's time to give zakat. You give him £1,000. It's coming back to you then, isn't it? Then there's no point paying zakat in that sense. And like that, you can go on, like you can't pay for the kafan of a deceased person by zakat money. Yeah, the loans of your own loans you can't pay with zakat. Okay, and so on and so forth in this way. if a person accidentally gives to a person who's not liable for zakat, yes, but then finds out later and can't retrieve the money, then in that case the zakat is done. The zakat is done. For example, he gives it to a person when it's really dark, but it turns out to be a rich person afterwards, yes, then in that case it's okay, it's done, yes. So it's a dark night or something, and he thought the guy was a fakir, but the person was rich, yes. Now when the light comes on or something happens, he finds out it's a rich person, but he has no way of retrieving it because the person spent it, yes. Then in that case zakat is given. But if he pays it in a dark night when he can't see the person, to his own slave or to his own wife, yes, then in that case obviously he can retrieve it, can't he?
How is that possible?
It happens, sometimes you go to Pakistan and then outside a darbar or something be lines of people, yes, and sometimes you get rich men sitting amongst them. Yes. So that's that. One thing we also say is that if it's better to give zakat in the place you are in, yes, as opposed to outside. But if there are people outside of your city who are in more need of this wealth, then you can give it outside of the city. But it's better. I didn't ask you a question, did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
So both forefathers and children, etc., are not allowed, right? What about brothers?
Yeah, anything up or down you can't give it. Anything sideways you can give zakat. Yes? Anything that goes sideways you can give zakat to them. So brothers and sisters you can give zakat to. Yes?
Just to call this and ask a question, for example, if the threshold there is £262.50,
Yeah.
zakat becomes applicable on an individual. Would you pay zakat on the overall amount? Say, for example, you have £300. Would you pay it on £300 or would you pay it on the amount that goes above the
The overall amount that you've got at the end of the year. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
The overall amount. So that's just a threshold, isn't it? If you've got £1,000, you'll pay on £1,000. If you've got £2,000, you pay on £2,000. If you've got £1 million, you pay on £1 million. But that'll just be the threshold for it. Yes? Anything below that, zakat is not fard. Anything at that point or above it, to any amount, zakat will be fard upon.
Would it be okay to say then, anyone who isn't eligible to pay zakat, anyone who can't pay zakat is eligible to receive zakat?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's right to say. If you are giving zakat anyway, that's just on a side note. I do every year give zakat to one of my teachers in Pakistan, Ustaz Mateen Saim. He's very old, but I do collect zakat for him every year, and he is eligible for zakat. The truth is we're the only one that look after him, so he has no source of income, nothing. He more or less lives on his own as well. So we support him. Okay. We have another teacher, Ustaz Hashim, who's moved to Lahore. The other Ustaz Mateen has moved back to Mianwali. The other teacher is Ustaz Hashim, and we kind of support him as well. Do you know what? The way I taught you sarf, bits and bats, and I gave you a glimpse of how we teach sarf. It's actually his method of teaching sarf. It's slightly different to how you'll find it in every other madrasa. Every other madrasa will give you a book and teach you that way. We don't give you a book. I only gave you that book just for the sake of giving you a book. Okay? And you notice that I wasn't really teaching from the book. Yes? We have our own method of teaching sarf. Okay? And that is from Ustaz Hashim. You might have seen his son in the UK in Madani Masjid in Halifax. Yes, Mufti Asadullah Noori.
Is he the imam?
He was the imam. Is his son, okay, who was serving at Madani Masjid in Halifax, Gibbet Street Masjid. That is, his son was here. But he's since been sent back to Pakistan. If you want to sponsor him, you can. Yeah, so we also look after him as well. We took on a burden of making a few masjids. So in a place called Kuirata, we built a masjid. It's okay, not a big masjid, but it's fair sized. We've never advertised for these things, by the way. Yes, this is probably the first advertising I'm doing. Okay, we built that, alhamdulillah, it got built. Wallahu alam how it got built, but it got built. Yes, we have one in close to Dina. If you know where Pir Shahab is, yes, between Dina and Jhelum, there's a place called Pir Shahab. There's a darbar there. The darbar comes, and the campus comes, and then this masjid comes. It's got a really big, massive gumbaz to it. Yes, this masjid has literally broken my back. Okay, in terms of financially supporting it, in terms of it's still being built, by the way. But we've been building it for the last five years or so. Okay, and we haven't really made it public to say that we've been collecting for it. That's been going on. So while we're building this, Ustaz Sahab took on another masjid right outside Pak Patan, outside the darbar of Khwaja Gharib Nawaz. Okay, and that one, I only got to build the wall in terms of Ustaz was collecting as well. So when I'm saying I and we, it refers to Ustaz as well. We only got to build the wall just to surround it off, to say that something's being built here, so other people can't take the land, and that's what we got to done of it. And then in Lahore, they've taken another one on, okay, and that's for Ustaz Hashim. They're building him another masjid. They're all projects that need to be done. And sorry, in Mia Wali as well, for Ustaz Mateen Sahib, we wanted for him to have a madrasa, so we've decided to build him a madrasa as well. Yeah, they're the projects that way.
Roughly how much do you think you're going to
Guess. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, if you just take the Pir Shahab one,
Yeah.
yes, that one you need £50,000.
£50,000?
Yes,
How big is it?
it's massive. It's massive.
Or is it like Safatul Islam massive?
It's in terms of its, what would you call it? Its area. Yes.
Square.
It's the land is big though. The land is big. The masjid's not that big in terms of that, but because it's got 4 floors to it. Yes,
okay.
it's on GT Road in itself, but because the road's higher than the land,
Yeah.
they had to raise it.
Elevated.
Yeah, elevate it. So that's the reason. That's in total, but obviously some that has been spent.
Yeah.
Yes, so I would say majority of what we need now would be maybe 10 to 20.
10 to 20.
Yeah.
You can finish
And
it
that's
all.
just like the decorating and the tiles that go on and whatnot. Yeah, we can finish it. And then we have the rest of the jobs to do. Anyway, that was just me advertising. But before that masjid comes, okay, this masjid comes first, okay, that we're in. Alhamdulillah, they allowed us to use the facilities for free. They didn't charge us whatsoever, more or less. But we did promise them that we'll give them something. So before we finish, before the month of Ramadan, if you could just whip up something from your families, inshallah, just to give to the masjid, because they didn't say anything to this. I didn't even ask them. I just tried using the facilities. So for that, inshallah. Go. Do you want to ask a question?
Does it count? Can you pay zakat towards the mosque?
Not the mosque. Not a mosque. Okay. Zakat, if you want to pay for some of the Ustaz Mateen Sahib, we give zakat to. Okay. If you want to give him zakat, and I always collect personally for my own students, we collect zakat from them to give to Ustaz Mateen Sahib. Yes. Wallahi, and I say this, the zakat that we give him, yes, what I collect and what Ustaz Sahib collects as well, that stays with him for the whole of the year. There's no other income for him. Okay. Students come to him, they study for free. Yes. Students come to him, they study for free, they don't pay him anything. Yes. He gets a bit of anxiety when he goes out to the madrasas. Yes. When he goes outside of Mia Wali to other madrasas, he gets homesick, so he comes back home. Okay. And he doesn't. He's that age. He's really old now. Yeah, I put a picture of him on my Facebook with Mufti Fazl Sahib. If you connected to me on Facebook, his picture's on there. So we give him, and wallahi, and I say this with sincerity, that throughout the money that we give him, that suffices him throughout the whole of the year. Yes. And then roughly about Rajab time, normally we collect the money for him around Rajab time. This year I was lazy. Yes. Every year since I've been a student of my teacher, we've always collected for him. Okay. So anyway,
A question. If you pay zakat to the masjid, I did not know that at the time it used to go to a faqir. Does it need to be paid again?
it needs to be paid again in that case. If you have other relatives in other cities, meaning other than your own city, if you have relatives in other places and they are more in need of zakat, yes, then you should give it to them. They are rightful. Okay, but if you have relatives in your own city who are in more need, then you should give it to them. Okay, they have a right over you.
You are right back in Pakistan. They've got a lot of land. It's a widow with young children. They do have a lot of land, but they don't have money.
In terms of that land, we'll have to see what they use it for. Is it just their land, as in the property what they live on?
And
Okay.
they have crops and stuff.
Yeah, then that's a business, then, isn't it?
No, for their own personal use.
For their own personal use. Yeah, then in that case you can give them zakat. If it's for their own personal use, yes,
They have enough grain
Yes.
for the year.
yes.
Or for other things.
No, then you can give zakat to them if they haven't got the threshold. Okay, like we say. But if it's used as a business, yes, then again we look at how much money they get through it. Yes, in terms of what income they're getting and if it meets the threshold or not. Sheikh Abu Hafs al-Kabir, who's a great scholar of the Ahnaf, he said that the zakat of a man is not accepted while his relatives are in dire need of his zakat. Okay? Until he starts with them first. Meaning give to your relatives first, then after that if you have zakat left over, then give it to whomever you wish. Okay? So he should first of all fulfill their need. The last chapter is to do with Sadaqah Fitr. Yes, Sadaqah Fitr is easy. Again, it's wajib upon every free person who's Muslim, who owns nisab on the day. Who owns nisab on the day. Okay? And that's the day of Eid al-Fitr. So at Fajr time, if you're still alive, at Fajr, okay, then in that case, you will have to pay Sadaqah Fitr if you have ownership of the threshold. Yes? If you have ownership of the threshold. And again, it should not be for trade, and it should be empty of loans, your actual needs, the needs of your family. So again, down to your savings again. Okay? Then Sadaqah Fitr will be necessary upon a person. You will give it on behalf of yourself and on behalf of your young children. When we say young here, we mean that they're not mature. Any children who are mature, they will have to pay their own. They will have to pay their own in this regards. And especially if they have money of their own as well. A man does not have to pay on behalf of his wife. It's not necessary upon him. And a wife does not have to pay on behalf of the husband. Doing a good deed is good as well. So sister should always pay for the husband. Likewise with the husband. Yes, a good deed is a good deed. Yes, but when it comes to a good deed, if you ask the person for money after doing the good deed and he declines it, yes, you can't get your money back. For example, let's just say this happens. You have a brother, you decide to give his Sadaqah Fitr. When you give his Sadaqah Fitr, you come home and say, look, I paid £5 for you, give me that £5. Yes, he says, what you on about? You have a big argument over £5. Okay, and you decide to take him to court. Okay, sue him, loss of earnings. So, so then as soon as you come to court, as soon as the Islamic judge will see it, if I was the judge, it'll be dismissed before you even step foot into the court. Okay, or the files are presented first, aren't they? I would dismiss it before you even step foot into the court. That'll be a judgment straight away. Why? Because you have no right to pay it, really. Yes? If you have paid it, it's paid as a good will gesture. Okay? Not as something which he needs to be paid back to you, because there was no contract between you that he needs to pay you back. Okay? So that is that. Now what is the threshold for this? As in how much you need to pay. Okay? We say is nisf sa of flour. Okay? What has he got as nisf sa in yours? It should be 1.6. 1.6. Okay. I think we last time worked it out to 1.75. Yes. Round it off to that. 1.75. What would be a full sa then? Double it. 3 point. Can I rub this off? Yeah. 3.5. So one sa is 3.5. Sa is just a measure. Yes. So one sa, that's a sa, is equal to 3.5 grams. Is it grams? Yeah. Kg. Sorry, I thought I got it wrong. That's kg. Kg. And half a sa, what was it? 1.75 kg. Okay. Not yet. We're just working that out. But we're going to pay from flour. Yes. So sisters will know this better. What's the most expensive flour? Which one? Elephant atta. Yes. Chucky gold. How much is it worth? The 25. Is it 25 kg? Yeah.
10 kg is about £10.
Yeah, 10 kg is £10.
10 kg.
Yeah.
For
10.99.
10.99. 11 pound. 21 pound. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. 25 kgs for. Is that more expensive? No?
That's
Which one's more
It's about
expensive?
£10 for 10 kg.
10 pound for 10 kg.
Yeah, just go £1 a kilo.
Yes? Pound a kg.
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with the 25 one.
25.
Oh, that's cheaper, isn't it? That's cheaper. Okay, we'll go with this one then. We'll just work on the highest one, just to let you know how cheap it is. So what was it? 10 kgs was 10 pound, yeah? 1 kg is 1 pound, okay? 1 kg is 1 pound. So are you going to work it out? We need half a kg. So 1 kg is that. So 1.75 kg is 1 pound 75. Is that right?
Yeah.
1 pound 75 kg. Yeah, that's your fitrana.
What, £1.75? Okay.
If you work it out that way. Yeah.
Yeah, normally everyone's
If you work it out that way. When I did it with my students, they said it's £15 for 10 kg. So we worked it on £15 last time. Okay. Let's do on that just as an example. Let's say it was worth £15. So what's per kg? 150, isn't it? Yes. 15 kg was worth £15, and then it goes to 150.
No,
Yeah.
10 kg is £50.
What's that? Sorry, 10 kg, not 15. 10 kgs is £15. 1 kg is £1.50. Okay, and then
475.
475. Yeah, so 475 would be your fitrana, but that one's better. Okay. Now you say they charge you £3. They charge you £3. Point, there's no benefit of that, is there? Well, can't even buy chicken and chips with that. Yes, it's true, isn't it? Meal deal, how much is it? £2. Yes. The other Rajas has it for what? £2.50 now? Yes. Some of it are £3, I think. So it's not worth it, is it? It's not a proper meal. So at least in terms of chicken and chips, then it works out. You can at least give a proper meal to, a hot meal to somebody.
Nando's chicken.
Yes, Nando's chicken. So do you understand that? So then some will put up to £3, £4, £5. Yes. If you've got an extended family that you're giving it on behalf of, then you might just go with 175 to make life easier. Yes. Flour's gone expensive, I think, hasn't it? Yes. A long time ago I worked there, it was only like 50 pence or something like that. It was like 50 pence on the actual price. Okay. The students only gave example because they didn't know. Madrasa and Zami students, they never, I don't think they bought atta before. So they just said, £15. Yes. So yeah. Huh? So that's that. That's how you work it out. So we only raise it just to give that benefit to the faqir, but that's the amount which will be necessary. Now, why would I tell you the amount? Let's just say you need to give a fitrana for the past 100 years, okay? Past 50 years, past 20 years, yes? Then you can kind of add up, can't it? Yes? So that's why you can then follow the basic amount for it, yes? Rather than as opposed to what we tell you to pay, yes? Any questions? Go for it.
If a parent has a bank account for a child, or but they don't have any access to it and they have no idea how much is in it, is it still classed as the child's ownership?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if they had access to it, but it's on the child's name, yes?
Is it under the child? Does the child have ownership over it? Because it's in there.
Yeah, the child has ownership over it, yes.
Even if he doesn't know how much is in it.
The child does not need to know how much is in it. Look, first you said that the parents don't know how much is in it, yes, and they don't have access to it, yes. That's the child's money. Or even if the child doesn't have access to it, yes, child can't have access to it anyway, even Islamically. He's a child, isn't he?
Okay. What
Yes.
is not a child?
Then
He's an adult.
then he's an adult.
An adult who doesn't have access to his money.
I'm 19, so
Yeah, this is what we're saying. You're an adult. You are an adult, and
Without access
if
to
you don't know how, if you don't have access to it, yes, then it comes under that wealth which we talked about, which is lost. You don't know which room it's in. Okay, it'll come under that. Okay.
bank account.
Then meaning when you have access to it, then that's when you will pay zakat on it. Okay? That's when you will pay zakat on it. And sometimes that happens, doesn't it, when you have these trust funds and things like this. Okay. On the other hand, what I was going to say was, if parents have an account for their children, and they are guardians for it, but they still use the money, yes, and they put money into the account for their children because it's rightfully on the children's name, then it's their children's.
So there's no zakat on that.
There's no zakat.
Okay.
That's another loophole.
So you're investing into your children, using your children's
But and that doesn't have to be an account as well. You can separate your money and say, this is my first son, this is my second son, this is my third son, my daughters, my second daughters, third daughters, and just separate all the money, and you don't own anything. Yes? And you can do that. That's another loophole in terms of you giving ownership to them. Any more questions? No? So everybody knows how to work out zakat. So remember, it's easy zakat in terms of that you just pay 2.5% of any amount above the threshold that we talked about. Yes, simple. There is Imam Abu Hanifa's mazhab, but that's kind of difficult in terms of that you pay on every, so over the amount, okay, every fifth of the threshold, every fifth of the threshold, right? So for example, in dirhams it's kind of easy. The threshold was 200 dirhams, yes? So in 200 dirhams, what's the fifth of 200?
40.
Yeah, 40. So from 40, 1 dirham will be necessary. So in total of 200, you pay 5 dirhams. Yes? So according to Imam Abu Hanifa, what happens is in 40, only 1 dirham is wajib, isn't it? So if a person has 211, or 220, or 239, so anywhere from 201 all the way to 239, yes, he will only pay 5 dirhams. So he pays it on 200 then, doesn't he? But from 239, Imam Sahib will say there's nothing necessary. But if it goes 240, now Imam Sahib will say it's 200, it is 6 dirhams. It is 6 dirhams. Now when it goes to 245, 250, yes, and something like that. Now what will happen is all the way to 279, Imam Sahib will say only 6 dirhams are necessary. Yes. When it gets to 280, now Imam Sahib will say you will now have to pay another dirham, and that is 7 dirhams. Sahibain is simple. Sahibain say that whatever amount you have, regardless of what it is, yes, just make 2.5% of it. Yes, and that's easy to follow, isn't it? That makes sense? Yes. So that's the case there. Any questions? No? Your master's in zakat now? MashaAllah. Next week we'll do Hajj, and I'm only going to do the method of Hajj. In between I'll tell you what's Fard and Wajib and things like this. As opposed to telling you what's Wajib, Fard separately. Fards are easy, there's only 2 Fards of Hajj. What's Wajib separately, what's Sunnah separately. I'll do the method of Hajj, okay, of how to do Hajj, and in that I'll tell you what's Fards and Wajib and what's Sunnah to do. That'll be that, and then if you have time we'll go into visiting the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I'll just give you a brief overview of that. If I can't get into it, then the Hajj book is there, Essential Islam, a Hajj book. You can, is it out of stock? Okay. I think there's 2 inside there, you know, in my room. So yeah, if you have the Hajj book, then you can read up on it there. Okay, and if you have more time, then I might just put in a few Aqidah points that, like I said, we'll talk from Jal Haq or Min Aqaid Ahl Sunnah by Sharaf Qadri Sahib, Min Aqaid Ahl Sunnah, and Jal Haq by Mufti Yar Khan Naimi. So we'll pick up some points from them in terms of Aqidah as well.
Just going forward, when would the approximate time be for the next course to start after this finishes, inshallah?
We're thinking of a Dars Nizami course, maybe September time.
Okay.
But I think Sayyidina Naveed wants it online as well. But for my Dars Nizami students, I like them to be present in front of me. Yes. Because after all, it is a Dars Nizami class. So I want them to be in front of me as opposed to online. I'm even iffy about them recording it. Okay. So
Is that because of the topics I'll be discussing?
the topics that we'll discuss and everything, and also that when it goes out online and things like that, people just take advantage of it and take things out of context. So students here, okay, no recorded lessons. Yes, that'd be good, wouldn't it? It'll soup up your memory. Okay, so no recorded lessons in the sense that you go back and just start checking what you want. Rather, you have your lesson, go back, do taqrar between yourselves, talk between yourselves, understand it, go home, revise it. Like that, you're always using your brain, and your memory gets souped up. Okay.
Also, I just wanted to ask about yourself. Like, so when you finish your GCSEs, is that when you started the Dars Nizami for yourself?
Subhanallah.
About the biography.
Question is, did I finish my GCSEs?
When you said you did A-levels at
I
college,
did.
so
I've always been studying.
So when did it start?
When did it start in terms of when I gave an interest to it? For example, I had always been studying. I started reading Quran, not Quran, but the Qaeda with my grandfather, my dad's uncle rather. And then I studied under Mufti Hassan Raza. I read Quran to Mufti Hassan Raza. I started basic Arabic grammar under Mufti Hassan Raza Sahib.
What age?
I would have been like 11,
Okay.
10 or 11. And then after that, I was with Anwar al-Mustafa Hamdami. I don't know if you know him. He's the founder of Al-Mustafa Center. I was with him for a long time. Then I took a break. When I went to college,
Yes.
I kind of took a break
Why?
in terms of studying because they were buying Al-Mustafa Center, and we used to study in Civic Hall. I don't know if you remember Kashmir Civic Hall on Drummond Road. We used to study there. The Friday Zikr used to be there as well of his. So we used to study there, but I was still in school rather at that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
15, 16.
Yeah, lower than that, 13, 14 maybe. Okay. And I studied with him, but I was too young, and I had all doctors and lawyers, and when they used to speak English, and when I'm at 12, 13 years old, their English seemed alien to me. As in, it was just a bit too sophisticated for me. So for that reason, and it just worked out more or less to my favor that they were buying the building. So then they postponed the class.
Okay.
Yeah. So we used to study in his house as well. His house was just in Leamington Street. You went to, the entrance that you come out from Dami Sahib's house used to just be at the bottom. So we used to study in his house as well. Then ended up in college. I wasn't studying then. But towards the end of my final year, in my first year, halfway through my first year,
So
They had set up Al Mustafa Center. So then I went back, and then that's where I met Mufti Fazl Sain. Yes, and then since then I've been with him.
Okay.
Yeah. So more or less since the age of 15.
Alright, so after you did your A levels,
Like an interview, eh? What job is it? Can I know?
I'm just trying to work out like what for this day and age, when would be the best time to introduce the Islamic sciences to the younger generation?
As soon as you can, really.
But
No, what I'm in favor of is having Islamic studies class for children. So they do the Quran and they concentrate on Quran. What we do now is we try to give them everything, and they come in the madrasa at age of 5, and then we try to bombard them with everything. I don't do that. Personally, I don't teach that way. I'll give a kid the qaida and I keep teaching him the qaida. Yes, and he will not do anything. Yes, for depends on the child, but I average them to about maybe 10 months. Yes, for 10 months they will not be doing anything other than qaida. Yes, I will let them watch prophet stories or something like this in those cartoons that they have for kids, which tell the Quranic stories. They'll watch things like that, but in terms of learning namaz and learning this and learning that, I don't do none of that.
Sorry to cut you. Mirrors the hadith of Rasulullah
Yes.
as well, that just teach them
The
the Quran.
Quran, yes. So once they start reading, and then that's when I teach them the Quran, and I teach them first para, and they don't do anything but that. Yes, I mean they don't do kalme, namaz, nothing like that. Depending on the student, if I think he's reading good, by the time he gets halfway through the first para, I will start teaching him in the first kalma. Yes, but I don't teach him like I rant and rave like people do. Yes, they just make people sit down and just keep saying it, and it's sometimes effective in terms of making them learn it, but they don't have any idea of how to learn it really. So what I want to do is build up the memory. So once they learn how to read, I'll tell him the first kalma, go learn it. Yeah, so he sits down and he learns it. He builds his memory that way. Yes, because he can read it, and that's the way I'll teach it. And then once they've done that, once they've gone through the Quran and everything, and I don't teach the Quran fully as well sometimes. If I think the child can read perfectly well, yes, I look at his capability in terms of memory, yes, then I'll put him into a pre-hifz class. Pre-hifz class will only entail something like him learning Surah Mulk, Juz Amma, Surah Mulk, Surah Rahman, Surah Yasin. Yes, he'll do Juz Amma first, then he'll go to Surah Mulk, Surah Rahman, Surah Yasin. And then we'll test him here. If he has the capability of going on to full hifz, we'll send him to full hifz. If he doesn't, then he comes to the Islamic studies class. Yes? And this is where we teach him Islamic studies. Little things like wuzu and namaz, the method of namaz, that gets done when he's doing Quran anyway. But I don't bombard people with the children with all of these things where they start going into the details of Aqidah and things like this. I leave it as a separate class so they fully concentrate on it. And they're wise enough to understand it as well. Yes? As in, once they've done the Quran or done the pre-hifz, whatever it is, they are an age as well where they can understand. Yes? And I find it easy. And I only do a 2-year course. Yes? And believe it or not, I sat as a 2-year course in this mosque, the Islamic studies class. And this is the second class I've had. And they finished it in a 1.5 years, the whole course. Yeah. So basically everything you do, we just water it down for them. Everything that you've done in this session, in these classes now in 35 weeks or so, right? Other than the Arabic grammar, yes, Aqidah and fiqh, yes, they will do Quran translation over there as well. They will look at 40 hadith as well, yes. They have few essays to write here there, yes, just to keep them going. And then in between that, I have some time as well to play about with something that I feel that I need to talk about. Yes. So if I need to talk about Miraj, when it's Miraj time, I'll talk about Miraj. Yes. If there's a Aqidah point going on, like we had the Mawlid debate, yes, that was big, wasn't it? And the kid will ask you, so we'll talk about that as well. But these classes are based not more on examining, having exam every time, even though they do have 1 or 2 exams with another teacher though. My classes are mostly based in terms of, it's mostly conversational, as in I talk to them, build their confidence, talk to them, make them understand, is one-to-one with them. yes, and it's done in that way, and then they ask questions and they build their knowledge in that manner, as opposed to me just speaking, giving them a lecture, yes, and then I just test them at the end of it. I don't do that. So I'll talk to them, and then in amongst that we also have their daily issues. Yes, so we'll talk about their daily issues as well, so as students, what they're going through. Yes, and why can't they follow Islam in that aspect? So in that you get drugs, alcohol, because I teach brothers, then the sisters always fall into it. Yes, so they bring up those issues, and then you work with them and you make them better people. And majority of those students, if you ever go down, you'll probably see them reading namaz as well. And these were students that I worked with, that when they were in these classes in this hall, yes, they've got zigzags in their hair and cuts in their eyebrows, and some had gold teeth and big chains, yes, at the age of what they were at. Some of the students came to me, they were like 13, 14, yes. But alhamdulillah, the majority of those students, they see downstairs, and they're the ones that are coming to the 5 daily and daily prayers as well. So it makes a big difference, yes. There were children that, the first batch that I had, they were all children that no one wanted. Yes, there's 3 classes in this hall. Every single teacher didn't want them. Okay, so I took them all on. Yes, and alhamdulillah, they were the first. They graduated. They did it full 2 years, and then the second class did it in a year and a half. Okay, and it works well in that way. But then it's an easy step onto Dars Nizami for them as well. Yeah. Yes, there's one kid, Hamza. He's in my Dars Nizami class now, and he did the course with me as well.
How old is he?
Yes. He's really young, He'll be about 11.
11, and he's
Yes.
on Dars Nizami.
Yes. He doesn't know Arabic, obviously, because I didn't teach him it. But he's joined my actual Dars Nizami class. Yes. And he sits in the lesson. There's another child with him called Hassan. Yes, he sits in the Dars Nizami class as well. So we have that bridge. Once you have that bridge, it makes life easier. Yeah, they don't get bored in that way because they know where they're working. Did I get the job? He was interviewing me.
Back to you again, Sheikh. So your study time too. What was that like? Like were you full time, like 8 till 8, or?
My study time.
Yeah, like when you studied.
While I was when I was in college, and then when I went to university, I was going college in the morning, and then finishing about 3, 4, and I would come straight to Ustad Sahib, and I would study till 11 o'clock at night with
5
them.
days a week.
7 days a week. So on Saturdays, I would study in the morning. So straight after Fajr till Zohar time.
From Fajr till Zohar?
Yeah, Fajr till Zohar.
On a Saturday and a Sunday?
On a Saturday, Sunday.
For how many years?
So Monday to Friday,
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, I was with Ustad Sahib in the evening while I was in college. Yes? And then on Saturday, Sundays, I was with Ustad Sahib in the morning, straight after Fajr till 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock if it was the summer. Yes?
And you did that for how
And
long?
sometimes on Saturday, Sundays, what used to happen was Ustad Sahib used to do Salah in Barkhanen Road. Yes, so we used to go to Barkhanen Road and study after it as well on Saturday, Sundays. Then when I got to uni, it kind of played with me because I couldn't handle it anymore because I was waking up, because I went to Huddersfield Uni, I was waking up well early just to catch my 6:20 bus, to get to interchange, catch X6, all the way to Huddersfield, right, and then finish about 5 o'clock and rush all the way back to Al Mustafa Center. And then in the second year, I made my decision to drop out of uni. I dropped out in the second year because I was doing a course which I knew I wasn't going to take further anyway. Yes, I was doing marketing in Huddersfield Uni, right? So I knew I was never going to use those skills. Yes, so I never pursued it. Then I never went with it. I just never went.
So
Okay.
So after that.
After that, then I studied with Ustad Sam 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yes, day and night.
What time did you go?
After Fajr
Yeah.
till 1, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then go to Barkhanen Road. Yes. Then have a break. Yes. So from Barkhanen Road we finish about 2:30.
Yeah.
Yes, depending on when Zohar was. And the break that I used to get was because Tasa needed to pick the kids up.
Okay.
Yes. So that was my break. Yes. So I used to go home till about 5. Yes. And then back to studying till 5 again. And then in between that time I studied. I lived in the madrasa.
So 5 till 11 you studied?
Yeah, 5 till 11. Yes. More or less. Yeah. Give and take the time of taqrar.
Yeah.
Yes.
For how many years did you do it?
Since I've told you, I've been doing it then. That's been done till the last maybe, that timing,
Yeah.
till the last maybe 4 years. Yes, when I stopped.
4 years ago.
I mean, that's because it changed into teaching, so then Ustasa kind of changes, and then I used to study everything in the morning, and Ustasa used to give time to other students in the night. Yes. But in between that time as well, I lived in the madrasa. I lived in the madrasa for 2 years,
Which one?
in Bradford 5.
Okay.
Not very far from home. Okay, but I lived there for 2 years. My routine was wake up at Fajr, read 1, 2 o'clock, then go to Bakana Road, go home, and then come to Al Mustafa Center, study there till 11 o'clock. I never used to have a car. Ustasa used to drop me off at the madrasa then. Yeah. And he was going to ask me my study time. My personal study time would be from 11 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's when you used to revise.
Yeah. Sometimes in sleep. Sometimes in sleep. Yes. That means I was in bed fast asleep. Okay. So yeah, that's just the timing like that. But we used to study 7 days a week. I don't think anybody teaches like that. Yes, that's not in terms of my efforts. Really, it's the Ustad's effort. Yes? They wanted teachers. Yes.
How many, were there many of you in the class? Or?
There was about 7 of us. 7 of us in the class. But look at it this way: we just surrendered ourselves to Ustad Sahab. We weren't picky in terms of what we read. Yes. If Ustad Sahab wanted to teach us fiqh, it was fiqh. If Ustad Sahab wanted to teach us Aqidah, it was Aqidah. If it was Hadith, then it's Hadith. We didn't say anything. Yeah. I mean, I've done subjects which you'll find why in the Blue Moon did you study them. Okay. And I studied them why? Because Ustad Sahab taught us them. And we never questioned why Ustad Sahab was teaching us whatever he was teaching us. Yes. And that's the calamity of the students in this day and age. Yes. They feel that they own the teacher. So questioning is good, as in terms of the class you question, Ustaz, you said this and you done this and that happened and this happened. That's fine. Some students comes, Ustaz, teach me Hidayah. Yeah. Have you read Nulida? No. Okay, teach me Hidayah. It's not going to happen, is it? Have you read Quduri? No. But I want to do Hidayah. Yes. And if you say no to him, then he won't study to you. Yes. Sharaf Qadri Sahab once came to Ustaz Ata Muhammad Bandialvi, and I mentioned this in my talk as well. And he studied with him, and he only came really just to study logic. But Ustaz Ata Muhammad said that I'm going to teach Mukhtasarul Ma'ani, which is an eloquence book and rhetoric book. And because he said he's going to teach that, Sharaf Qadri Sahab has studied in Karachi, that same book, and he has studied it in Lahore. So he studied this book twice. Yes. Ustaz said, so who wants to study it, sit with me and they can study it. Whoever doesn't can leave. Yes. So he decided to stay. But when Ustaz Sahab then taught the book, he writes it himself, he says, when he taught the book, it's like, he goes, I felt I had never read this book ever. Yes. As in that, even though he had studied it twice in 2 different madrasas, he said, I felt that I had never studied this book. And he wrote as well that when Ustaz Sahab was teaching it, it was as though the author himself was speaking. Yes. As in that's how deeply he was teaching that book. And then after that day he learned his lesson never to say to Ustaz Sahab, I don't want to do this book, you should teach me this book. Okay. In that sense the Bandialvis are kind of strict. Yes. Imam Ustaz Sahab was the same as well. I've seen many people who come to him. Like myself, I never said to him, teach me this, teach me that. Just go with the flow. Yes. Whatever he said, just go with it. But I've seen people who come, yes, and they'll say to Ustaz Sahab, if Ustaz Sahab wants to teach Farsi, for example, yes, and you're learning Farsi, yes, you could be those people who are going to Dora Hadith, yes, but he wants to teach you Farsi, yes, there's no way you're going to get into Dora Hadith without him teaching you Farsi. It's not going to happen. Yes. And these are mentioned in classical books. Remember Ta'limul Muta'allim, he mentioned things like this, that you never say to your teacher or order your teacher to teach you a certain subject. Yes, rather let him do his job. Now people sometimes come and they don't know basic Arabic and they expect us to teach logic to them. Yes, but obviously when we do logic books in Arabic, then the logic is based on Arabic language as well. So I can't teach you logic from Arabic books without you knowing Arabic. Yes, so it's necessary. So for logic, you need to know Arabic grammar as well. Yes, people come to me and say to me they want to study Shara Mullah Jami, which is an Arabic book. Yes, and you might be shocked. And I say to them, how much of logic have you studied? Yes, and they say nil, nothing. Then I go, I can't teach you it. Why? Because when you teach Shara Mullah Jami, even though it's an Arabic grammar book, it requires a lot of logic. Yes, it has a lot of terminology, logical terminology in it, which you need to know. Yes, yeah, other madaris teach it, but the way they teach it is that they just go straight over the top. Yes, scrape the surface of it and just go along with it. Whereas we'll open it or look for you. Okay. Into the depth. Okay. My interview is over, I think. Is it over now?
For next year.
For next year.
Would it be 1 to 2 days or 1 week?
We talked about this. I think for the initial year, we could maybe do it one day, and it'll be 2 hours, but we'll do Arabic, complete Arabic. So we'll do both parts of Arabic. So it'll be your sarf, and we'll do your nahv. Yes? And then as time goes along, we'll increase the time. We'll have to increase the time. And that's how I teach Madrasa Nizami classes. Early age students that come to me in my full-time Madrasa Nizami class will more or less spend like half an hour with me really. Yes? The rest of the time they're learning the sabak. Yes, off by heart. Yes? So that's the amount. So the most they probably spend an hour with me and then they leave. But then as time goes along and they've grounded in Arabic, yeah, then they start doing books like Sharamet Amil, Nur Rida, and different subjects.
So do you tell them to memorize that? So
The initial, like we say, that we try to bring the memory up. So in the first 2 years, I would say, we're constantly making them memorize things. After that is up to them. Yes? But we advise them to memorize at least one book in every subject.
for yourself, if you had a student, what would you say as you would expect from your student to have memorized?
Everything. Word for word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Word for word. I mean, if you want to know how I study, when I study logic, for example, I've told you this before. Ustasa would talk for 20 minutes, half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes. Yes, and then it was my job. For example, if I had read the text, yes, then it was my job off head to word for word say back everything that Ustasa said to me. Yes,
You said that back to him?
yes. So sometimes it would be straight away. Yes. Sometimes Ustasa used to take a break and say, here, sit down, do 10 minutes, write it all down, and then come back and read it to me, as in off head.
Okay.
Yes. So some of the subjects that were really easy, we could do them, because you get used to it. You get used to how your Ustad speaks, what type of word choice he has, and whatever, and you get used to that, then you know. But sometimes when he's right extensive, they used to give us 10 minutes. So we used to go back, write it all down, do takrara at the same time, write it all down. One person's repeating and one person's writing it, yes? And you're getting everything in order. Come back, close your book. And you say, the author said this, and this objection was made, and this is the answer of it, and this is this, and this is this. Yes? You have to quote the text as well. But Ustad's memory is so good. Like for example, with me, I might just let you off in terms of what I chose, or I might even forget what I chose myself in terms of my wording, right? Ustad's memory is so sharp that he knows what he said. He knows what he said, yes? And literally, you might just do a he or a he, in different orders, right? Or you might just swap a word here, there. He'll pick up on it, yes? And he'll correct you on it. Okay? So yeah, that's what I would expect as well. Inshallah. It's the Bandialvi way, by the way.
Inshallah.
That's the Bandialvi.
It's the best.
Inshallah. So yeah, that's your future plan.
Interview.
I studied like that only till a couple of years. I was still studying, even the time cut down in terms of the nights. When I started working in Victor Street, I stopped studying at nights with Ustad Sahib, so it was always in the morning, and the health wasn't very good as well. But then recently the health completely deteriorated. For the past 2 years, I haven't studied anything to Ustad Sahib. Yes. In terms of my actual studies, I haven't studied anything just because of their health. And also other students were complaining that they don't have time. And Ustad Sahib doesn't give them enough time. So because our subjects are slightly, the books that they choose need a lot of attention. So then they will spend all the time with us. So some of my own students, so majority of the students that Ustad Sahab has now, they all studied to me. So I taught them and I sent them to Ustad Sahab. So they were all complaining to me that, you take all the time, so we don't have no time. So for the last 2 years, I've also stopped. And they're doing easy subjects as well, which Ustad Sahab doesn't really need to look into depth into. You can just do them off his head, really. So giving them that time. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, did I get the job?
The job was
No?
always yours.
Inshallah. Any questions? Go for it.
I wanted to clarify something. Ramadan, if you fast and you're traveling east or west, so how do you open or close your fast?
Wherever you are. So if you got a fast and
Fast from here and go to Pakistan.
you're going to Pakistan, so wherever you are, so for example, you're traveling from here and you're going over Turkey, yes, and in Turkey now the sun is setting, yes, that's when you open your fast. So wherever you are in your plane, wherever the plane is over the world, wherever the sun is setting and you are there, that's where you will open your fast. You don't look at the time that's in the UK, you don't look at the time what's in Pakistan. You look at the time where the sun is setting, where you are. Yes? And how easy is that when you're flying? Just open the window and look out. Yes? If the sun's there, don't open your fast. If it's gone dark, then open your fast. Yes? Simple.
What if you're trailing the sun?
That can happen. That can happen, can't it? Can it happen with the Concorde? Sonic boom?
That's out of commission, that's, unless you're a fighter pilot. Then a Mach 7 or something.
That jet that was flying over Bradford the other day was kind of fast. It's very loud. But if that can happen if you're constantly ahead of the sun. Yes. Then in that case, your fast never opens. So if you go around the whole earth that way, your fast never opens. Will it?
That's what I was aiming.
So that's that. Any more questions? Inshallah, see you next week.